Today's Thursday, yeah. Jai was staying. I'm on my way out.
So you're going to India for how long?
Till November 2nd. I'll be back.
Also after Kartik.
Yeah.
So everything's okay with the night darshan today.
Yes.
Just bless.
Where are they growing like marigolds on the roof or something like that?
Yeah, congregation.
Yeah. Hari.
Hare Krishna. That works. You want me to plug this in? And I don't think I'll need this. What's showing? I can't see it. Is that right? Okay. Yeah. I mean, was someone else going to show that? I can just show the presentation after, but it seems like there's not many people. No, I can just show this now if you want. It's up there, so whichever works, however it works for you best. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braj Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braj Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahams Parabhajikacharya Stotra Sadhus Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. BBT founder Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Brahm Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jai Nitai Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Jai Nitai Gauda Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhule Shrimati Annaswami Tinamani. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhule Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pachayani Devi Shishimani Pasachadi Shitarani. Hare Krishna. So I would like to begin first by expressing my deep gratitude and appreciation to the devotees here, Prabhu Vishnu Prabhu, for inviting me and allowing me to be here in the exalted presence of the devotees of Shri Shri Radha Govinda and their lordship, Shri Shri Radha Govinda, Jagannath Baladev and Subhadra, and Shri Shri Gaura Nitai. It's always a wonderful honor to be here in this historic place. So thank you very much for allowing me to be here, and grateful to those of you who are here. Although I am extremely disqualified to be speaking anything, I am here because I've been requested, and therefore begging blessings from all of you that if you see fit to please bestow your mercy upon me so that I can speak something relevant and bona fide from the pages of this Grantaraj, this most exalted king of scriptures, the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we're reading today from the 4th canto. So only by the mercy of Vaishnavas is anything possible, so I am seeking your blessings. Hare Krishna. So we will first chant the invocation and then read from texts 3 till 5 of the 11th chapter of the 4th canto. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So text number 3. So we'll repeat 5 together. Tasya rishastram danushi prayunjata suvarna punka kalahamsava sasaha vinirishta avivishordvishad balam yatavanam bhima ravasikanδinaha. Translation. Okay, let me just get it on the screen here so you all can see that. Even as Dhruva Maharaj fixed the weapon made by Narayan Rishi onto his bow, arrows with golden shafts and feathers like wings of a swan flew out from it. They entered the enemy soldiers with a great hissing sound, just as peacocks enter a forest with tumultuous crowing. Very scenic explanation here, and you can imagine Dhruva Maharaj is loading up this weapon and these arrows are just flying with these golden shafts, hissing around, and then it adds a little bit with the peacocks, in the forest with their tumultuous crowing. Let's see, go to text 4. Taistigma darai pradana shila mukher itastata punya jana upajutaha tam abhyadavan kupita udayuda suparnamunada pana ivahaya. Translation. Those sharp arrows dismayed the enemy soldiers who became almost unconscious. But various yakshas on the battlefield, in a rage against Dhruva Maharaj, somehow or other collected their weapons and attacked. Just as serpents, agitated by Garuda, rushed towards Garuda with upraised hoods, all the yaksha soldiers prepared to overcome Dhruva Maharaj with their upraised weapons. So again, another very exciting scene as this battle is taking place. A friend of mine many years ago said Srimad Bhagavatam is the complete home entertainment system. So if you just read the Bhagavatam, you can get absorbed in these pages and these descriptions, and you don't need to watch all the other movies that they spend millions and millions of dollars on to make. You can just utilize your God-given mind. Okay, so text 5, so we'll repeat this. We'll recite this responsibly. Hopefully everyone can see. Satan prishakter abhidavato mride Nikrita bahura shirodhara dharan Ninaya lokam paramarka mandalam. Brajanti nirbidya namurdva retashaha. Satan prishakter abhidavato mride. Nikrita bahuru shirodharaudaram. Ninaya lokam paramarka mandalam. Rajanti nirbidya yam urdhva retasaha. Someone else would like to chant? Santan prishakter abhidavato mride. Nikriti bahura shirodharodaram. Nanaya lokam paramarka mandalam. Najanti nirbidyayam urdhva retasaha. Satan prashaktar abhidavato mride. Nikriti bahuru shurodharodaran. Nanaya lokam paramarka mandalam. Bhajanti nirbidya yamurdhva retasaha. Okay, word for word. Saha, he, Dhruva Maharaj, Tan, all the yakshas, Prishaktai, by his arrows, Abhidavataha, coming forward, Mride, in the battlefield, Nikrita, being separated, Bahu, arms, Uru, thighs, Shiradara, necks, Udaran, and bellies. Ninaya, delivered. Lokam, to the planet. Param, supreme. Arkamandalam, the sun globe. Brajanti, go. Nirbidya, piercing. Yam, to which. Urdhvaretasaha, those who do not discharge semen at any time. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When Dhruva Maharaj saw the yakshas coming forward, he immediately took his arrows and cut the enemies to pieces, separating their arms, legs, heads, and bellies from their bodies. He delivered the yakshas to the planetary system, which is situated above the sun globe, and which is attainable only by first-class brahmacharis who have never discharged semen. Purport. To be killed by the Lord or by His devotees is auspicious for non-devotees. The yakshas were killed indiscriminately by Dhruva Maharaj, but they attained the planetary system attainable only for brahmacharis who never discharged their semen. As the impersonalist Gyanis or the demons killed by the Lord attained Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, persons killed by a devotee of the Lord also attain Satyaloka. To reach the Satyaloka planetary system described here, one has to be elevated above the sun globe. Killing, therefore, is not always bad. If the killing is done by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or his devotee, or in great sacrifices, it is for the benefit of the entity killed in that way. Material so-called non-violence is very insignificant in comparison to killing done by the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotees. Even when a king or the state government kills a person who is a murderer, that killing is for the benefit of the murderer, for thus he may become cleared of all sinful reactions. An important word in this verse is urdhva retasaha, which means brahmacharis who have never discharged semen. Celibacy is so important that even though one does not undergo any austerities, penances, or ritualistic ceremonies prescribed in the Vedas, if one simply keeps himself a pure brahmachari, not discharging his semen, the result is that after death he goes to Satyaloka. Generally, sex life is the cause of all miseries in the material world. In the Vedic civilization, sex life is restricted in various ways. Out of the whole population of the social structure, only the grihastas are allowed restricted sex life. All others refrain from sex. The people of this age especially do not know the value of not discharging semen. As such, they are variously entangled with material qualities and suffer an existence of struggle only. The word urdhva retasaha especially indicates the Mayavadi sannyasis who undergo strict principles of austerity. But in the Bhagavad Gita 8:16, the Lord says that even if one goes up to Brahmaloka, he again comes back. Abrahma bhuvanaloka punar avartino arjuna. Therefore, actual mukti or liberation can be attained only by devotional service. Because by devotional service, one can go above Brahmaloka or to the spiritual world wherefrom he never comes back. Mayavadi sannyasis are very proud of becoming liberated, but actual liberation is not possible unless one is in touch with the Supreme Lord in devotional service. It is said, Harim vina na mritim taranti. Without Krishna's mercy, no one can have liberation. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumiditangena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Gena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Zajivam Sarvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So the verse again. Satan prashakter abhidavato mride nikrita bahura shuro daro daran ninaya lokam paramarka mandalam brajanti nirbidya yam urdvareta saha. When Dhruva Maharaj saw the Yakshas coming forward, he immediately took his arrows and cut the enemies to pieces, separating their arms, legs, heads, and bellies from their bodies. He delivered the Yakshas to the planetary system which is situated above the sun globe and which is attainable only by first-class brahmacharis who have never discharged semen. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I'm just going to make sure that this is set up so that it is not going to mirror now. Okay. So, just in order to try to present something in accordance with this wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, really every line that he writes could be purported by entire books. It's even words, certain words that he chooses, you could say every word, but is so packed full of potency. And this purport, there are many topics that could be discussed in depth. I felt that we could focus on 3 main points from this. The first one is to be killed by the Lord or by his devotees is auspicious for non-devotees. So that's a topic we're going to look at and discuss. This is a statement directly from the purport. The second one is the value of not discharging semen. And that's very prominent topic that Srila Prabhupada discusses in the purport. And the final one is that liberation can be attained only by devotional service. So these are the 3 main topics. So point 1 is to be killed by the Lord or by his devotees is auspicious for non-devotees. Okay, so these were a few points that came up. I don't know if you'll be able to see them. It looks pretty big. So Prabhupada says, persons killed by a devotee of the Lord also attain Satyaloka. That's amazing, right? So if a devotee kills someone, they go directly to Satyaloka. That's pretty elevated state, correct? That's quite a high level. Of course, it's not outside of the material world, but it's a place that even people who are performing many austerities, it's very difficult to get to. Like extremely difficult to get to Satyaloka. It is not an easily reachable heavenly planet. But simply if someone is killed by a devotee of the Lord, they go to Satyaloka. Interesting. Killing, therefore, Prabhupada said, is not always bad. if the killing is done by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his devotee, or in great sacrifices. So Prabhupada outlines here this principle that killing isn't always bad. In general, it's frowned upon, right? We wouldn't even kill an ant. Srila Prabhupada, recently we were hearing one pastime where Prabhupada, there was in a place and there were mosquitoes, and the devotees were like, Prabhupada, can we please kill these mosquitoes? What if they bite us? We get malaria. And Prabhupada said no. And then one landed on Prabhupada and was about to bite. And he said, okay, they have attacked. Now we can kill. So then he wiped out the mosquito. But in general, we don't even kill an ant, right? Material so-called nonviolence is very insignificant in comparison to killing. So this, and Prabhupada would talk about this principle of ahimsa, and even that Gandhi promoted ahimsa, but yet at the end of the day, he himself was killed, and that, he carried around the Bhagavad Gita talking about ahimsa, nonviolence, yet the Bhagavad Gita is basically all about violence. It's all about killing, and certainly it isn't about ahimsa or nonviolence. In fact, Krishna perpetually throughout the Bhagavad Gita is saying again and again to Arjuna to fight. Fight. God bless you. May Krishna continue to bless you with pure devotional service. So, but, even when a king or state government kills a person who is a murderer, that killing is for the benefit of the murderer, for thus he must become cleared of all sinful reactions. So, there are many viewpoints, I would say, like I had before coming to Krishna consciousness. One is that thinking that, is this kind of called, what is this, like, not martial law, what is it called? But anyway, the law that basically, capital punishment, thank you, Prabhu. Yes, so capital punishment, I thought, well, that's a little bit extreme, Other things you might think, abortion, come on. We should have the right to choose. It may have its time, place, and circumstance, and if someone wants, all these kind of topics before becoming a devotee, or even arranged marriages, whenever I would hear things like this, you would think, nah, none of this stuff is good, But then after becoming a devotee, you sort of see a different angle or perspective. So this is one that's presented that the king, he may sentence someone to be hanged or executed in whatever way because they have killed someone else, so he kills them. Now, it's often quoted from the Bible, an eye for an eye, which may not necessarily exactly equate. But the idea is that if he is given just punishment in this life for a heinous karmic activity that he's performed, then that is basically nullified. So it saves him from suffering in a future life. Now, of course, if you try to use that argument with a general materialist, they'll be like, yeah, right, okay. They're probably not going to accept it because it actually takes some faith, and it also takes some faith or understanding of, you could say, metaphysics, and the fact that the soul continues to exist after death, and belief in the understanding of reincarnation and rebirth, and that karma exists, which you could sit for some time with the materialist and maybe bring them to the point where they will accept that. You would obviously have to be very expert and talented, but at the same time, so they're not usually going to accept this as a very good argument for capital punishment. But for devotees, for those who understand the philosophy and clearly have faith in it, we understand how that can be true. We also understand how we also could appreciate the fructification of our own karmic activities in this life so that we can, clean some stuff out and deal with it rather than carrying it over to the next life. So in this way, this is something that's reactive. But I have a few questions on this point that I would like to ask all of you. So the first one is, do you think these statements that someone being killed by a devotee is beneficial, do you think that's true or false? Just curious. True. True. Physical body. She says while waving a sharp knife. Yeah. Of killing. Beautiful. Very nice. Very nice. Any other thoughts? Yes, this is very good. Often we see things in black and white. Prabhupada said it, that's right. Now, but, and I greatly appreciate, Mother, what is your name? Nanda. Okay, Nanda Devi. So I really appreciate, this point, especially Lord Chaitanya's coming. He was about to induce his Sudarshan chakra to kill Jagai and Madai, or Madai, I think it was, and Lord Nityananda said, no, you didn't come to do that. You've come to exactly destroy the demoniac propensity. And also your weapon is your beauty. So when that light flashes, that means someone's at the door. And is there? It looks like there's someone out there, never mind. So I just noticed no one was looking at it, and I was imagining if I was at the door, I'd be like, oh, God. So, although I don't want anyone to leave the room because there's only a few of us here. But, well, God's here, and many forms, Prabhupada's here. So, anyway, the point being that it may not necessarily be such an absolute statement, right? But it seems that Prabhupada is making the statement that to kill, if the Lord kills, now it's easier to accept if Krishna kills. You know, we know Kalki's coming, and the only way people are going to, get sorted out is by the sword, and he's just going to wipe people out, and every one of them will be liberated. Now, of course, we would think if you're killed by the Lord, you're going to get something greater than Satyaloka. At least you would get the mergence into, to merge into the Lord or go to the Brahmajyoti. You would get impersonal liberation. But here, again, Prabhupada is making a statement, which we could also argue, but if Krishna kills, if God kills someone, they get more than Satyaloka. Does that make sense? So, the point being that sometimes we have to take these statements in a certain context and understand them. Otherwise, what are some of the dangers? Yes, we can justify bad behavior. And let's say not just bad behavior. Bad behavior is like stealing Maha sweets based on the fact that Prabhupada said it's okay to steal Maha. That's okay. But killing someone, imagine how this could be taken out of context, or maybe even in context, but taken by someone who just popped in, saw it on the screen, and thought, oh, I chant Hare Krishna, I'm a devotee, and then out they go, to the local school or, subway station, and just start unloading on people with the proclamation that I'm a devotee and I'm liberating these people. Can you imagine what effect that would have? And now the question, do you think those people would actually be liberated? Would they go to Satyaloka? Again, would the purity of the instrument and the purpose for which they're being killed be enough to purify them to go to Satyaloka? So we have to be very, very careful sometimes when we just read something and we might take it as a black and white fact that means that basically I can go out and kill someone. When I was reading this, I was thinking of this devotee, I think his name's Parthasarathi. He is, I forget who's a disciple of, but he was in the military during the wars in the Middle East. And I was thinking, well, he's a devotee. He was also preaching to other people. He was practicing fully while he was there. So I was thinking every bullet he fired, he was actually probably sending people to Satya Loka, which is a great benefit. So, of course, anyway, there are many things we could discuss around this topic, but the main point being that when I read it, I thought if someone hears this and takes it out of context, it's almost like there should be a warning on the box, don't try this at home, or don't think you're a pure enough devotee that you can go out and kill people. Now, as far as I recall, there is a statement, and I think Ravinda Swarup Prabhu was there, I didn't have a chance to look it up, where Prabhupada says, in the future things will become so degraded that our Sankirtan will be Hare Krishna, bang, bang, Krishna, Krishna, bang, bang. Because that's the progress of Kali Yuga, that actually people will be trying to kill the devotees. But the consciousness is that even if you go to kill the mosquito, anyone, I'm sure, everyone's had that experience. Some little jiva in a body that is potentially destructive. Before you kill it, you're like, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. See you later. Hope that helped you in some way. So like that. So then, obviously, what is the application of this? How do we see the application of this? We would see that if things come to the point where there has to be war, there has to be killing, there has to be violence, then we should do it as an act of service to Krishna, to protect Krishna's devotees, to protect Krishna's property, to protect Krishna's Murti form, to protect the temple, whatever it may be, that we have to fight. And in that way, we also are trying to understand that these are spirit souls who are going to live afterwards. I'm not just killing bodies here, I'm freeing souls from the captivity of the body, and hopefully by Krishna's grace they will be elevated in some way. But it's not my sole intent purpose to cause them harm, but as an act of service I have to do this. Now, of course, one could also argue that there are people from different religious groups or organizations who believe that in the act of killing many and killing myself, suicide bombers, kamikazes, different people like this, that they're also justified. And we could discuss and look deeper into those religious texts, spiritual texts, to understand that maybe they are, based on the same principle that they're doing it as an act for God. But again, one has to be clear what is the real motive, the ultimate motive, so like that. Okay, so we'll move on to point 2. Point 2 is the value of not discharging semen. So this is a very big topic in one sense. Prabhupada discusses it in depth in the purport. So here's a quote from the Bhagavatam. Retention of semen is so essential in progressive human life that it is simply astounding how the whole endeavor of modern civilization is based on discharging it as much as possible. I just thought this one statement sums up the epitome of how juxtapositioned Krishna consciousness is from material life. The point of semen retention versus materialistic life, which at every opportunity is encouraging the exploitation of sex life. Using sex in whatever way possible to advertise everything and anything and encourage, watching TV, going to movies, looking at magazines, internet. I mean, it's just horrible. You open up something, you think, oh, let me just have a look at whatever, Instagram, Facebook, and immediately, boom, in your face is all this other stuff trying to allure and attract us. Prabhupada continues, semen retained in the body goes upwards to nourish the brain, rendering the body robust and the memory and intellect sharp. Determination, optimism, confidence, willpower, fixed intelligence, noble character, photographic memory, and shining good health are all fruits of conserved semen. So, you know how they advertise things? This is good for you because you get this, and this. So all of these things, this is the advertisement for brahmacharya, maybe not the brahmachari ashram, but the principle of brahmacharya, which is basically abstinence or retention of semen in that sense. So these are some pretty powerful qualities. In other places, Prabhupada, morning walks and different things, Srila Prabhupada speaks about how, you know, generally, especially men, obviously, men who are doing this, they become bright-faced. Their skin becomes clean and shiny. They become full of energy and full of life. Whereas people who are always doing this literally are being drained. His Holiness Danavir Maharaj put together a book called Brain Gain, but based on the principle that usually you would say brain drain. So if you're discharging, then you're draining. But if you're preserving, you're gaining. So like that. So Prabhupada continues in the purport, it is said that the four Kumaras were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their semen's flowing upwards. So like that. So this is from the Bhagavatam 3:12-4. So continuing on this point, this is from a morning walk, Prabhupada, 40 drops. Yes. So 1 ounce of semena discharge means 40 ounces of blood sucked. That is a fact. So he is enjoying his own blood and he's thinking, I am enjoying. Therefore, he's compared with the camel. And why compared with the camel? That's right. That's right. He chews on the thorny bushes. And the thorns prick his tongue and blood comes out. So after the twig is mixed with blood, it becomes tasteful. And he thinks thorn is very nice. So thorn is not nice. Nice is his blood, his own blood. But he, because he's animal, he's thinking it is very nice. So this is the definition of ignorance. That we do something which gives us some temporal pleasure and we think it's coming at no cost. Meanwhile, there is a cost, and that cost is that you are literally draining your own blood. And if you've ever given blood, you know, been a blood donor, when you go and you give a certain amount of blood, they can only take a certain amount, obviously. And when they take that, afterwards, you're meant to go home, rest for a little while, and eat, I think it's certain sweets or something, just because you become drained. You can become dizzy, you can become lightheaded, you can become just by giving some of your blood. So blood is obviously a vital life force. And by discharging that aimlessly, and of course in the modern day, one of the biggest addictions, apart from drugs, is sex life in the form of pornography. So people are just so addicted to this, and now there are groups. Even there's one devotee I really appreciate. He has his name is Nakul, and he has a program he does all about semen retention. And he has thousands of followers. Most of them are not devotees. They're people, he's really preaching to the men out there in the world about how you give your energy, you give your power away by not retaining semen. And there's like books written by non-devotees all about this topic. In Danavir Maharaj's book, he talks about all these different great personalities throughout time who understood the point of this and who did this and who became quite powerful personalities. And I have a hard copy of the book and I couldn't find an electronic copy. But anyway, like that, it's a very powerful point, and we can see another thing that Srila Prabhupada has inadvertently given to us is the opportunity to become strong, healthy people. just by the process. But we should also understand, as Prabhupada was talking about in this purport, that the point is not that by doing this alone. Of course, Prabhupada said that just by doing this, you will go to Satyaloka. He also says you go to Satyaloka at the end of this life. Even if you perform no religious activities, even if you don't do any devotional service, even if you don't do anything, just remain kind of brahmachari, retain semen for your entire life, you go at least back to Satyaloka. Well, that's quite powerful and potent. But of course, we don't want to go to Satyaloka. And that's the next point, point 3. Which is that liberation can be attained only by devotional service. So, what kind of liberation? There are different types of liberation. 5 types, in fact, generally that we understand. Lord Chaitanya only accepted 4 of them. But one of them is to merge into the existence of the Lord, or into the Lord's energy. So that's the one that generally we disregard, but one that from the Advaita Vad followers, their whole point is to merge into the energy of the Lord. But the understanding from the personalistic viewpoint, or from the Vaishnava, Gaudiya Vaishnava perspective, is that A, it's impossible. B, it's not satisfying, because even though you merge, you never become fully one. You still remain an individual, independent living entity. And because you're still a jiva, spirit soul, you still have the desire to enjoy. Because the nature of the soul is anandamayo bhyasat, and it's made up of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So the desire to enjoy can only manifest in relationship. So therefore you need to have personality and interact with other personalities. So therefore you fall down from that position eventually and take birth again, usually in some sort of pious way, but to try to enjoy or connect with others so that you can experience Ananda. And the final one is that it's not actually pleasing to Krishna. This isn't really pleasing. And for us, what we want to do is please Krishna, not please ourselves. So then there are also other forms. We can go to the planet of the Lord. We can develop the same features of the Lord. We can have the association of the Lord. And we can develop the opulences of the Lord. So these are 4 other types of liberation, which actually as devotees we're also not really so interested in. Really, as devotees, our interest is simply to be the das, anudas, anudas. We simply want to serve the Lord, no matter whether the Lord sends us to hell even. We're not bothered. We simply just want to serve the Lord. Which means that in one sense, Srila Prabhupada preached, and even the magazine is there, back to Godhead. Like our goal is to go back to Godhead. But actually our goal isn't to go necessarily back to Godhead, the place. Our goal is to go back to Godhead, the consciousness. That we're always with Krishna, in the presence of Krishna, in our consciousness. Like Prahlad Maharaj, the son of the king of demons. But he is personally always seeing Krishna, always seeing the Lord, always present to the always aware of the presence of the Lord, so like that. So these different types of liberation are there. So this reminded me of one pastime, especially connected with this principle of brahmacharya, the pastime of the brahmana, the milk-drinking brahmachari. So Lord Chaitanya was performing his Sankirtan Leela, and it was very clear that only the devotees were allowed in. Only the devotees could be present for this nocturnal Sankirtan. But Srivas Pandit was regularly being petitioned, and specifically once he was petitioned by a brahmachari, a Brahmin brahmachari, who was only drinking milk and not eating any cooked food, not even rice. Very austere. And he was praying, please, please let me come in. And he kept saying no, but eventually he said, okay, but you have to hide so that Lord Chaitanya can't see you. So he came in and he hid away, and Lord Chaitanya came in, and the kirtan started, and Lord Chaitanya was dancing, and then he stops. And he's like, I am not feeling ecstasy. And then they tried again. Haribo, Haribo. And then Lord Chaitanya stopped again. Why am I not feeling the ecstasy? And he said, because someone is here who is not pure in heart. And then he said to Srivas, who's here? Srivas was like, oh no. And he said, yes, my Lord, you have figured it out. There is one, but he is such a pure person. He only drinks milk. And then Lord Chaitanya responds and says, tell me what kind of austerity did Gajendra, the monkeys, and the cowherds perform to attain me? Even the demons perform austerities, but what is the result? Unless they take shelter of me, they cannot be delivered. The Lord continued, one cannot attain me only by drinking milk. You will see right here how I smash him to pieces. So Lord Chaitanya was not just like a kind of pushover sort of person. I am indeed fortunate to have seen something. I have also received appropriate punishment. So Lord Chaitanya went, this is now the brahmachari speaking. I have received appropriate punishment for my offenses. I saw that wonderful dancing and wonderful kirtan, and I was punished according to my offense. Only a servant of the Lord develops such a mentality and is able to tolerate the Lord's chastisement, which is a whole nother talk in and of itself. But we see here that Lord Chaitanya kicked him out of the kirtan, told him to leave the house. But he was like, this is correct. I'm being correctly punished. I shouldn't have been there. I don't deserve to see it. I'm being punished accordingly for my offenses. The Lord, who is an ocean of mercy, called the Brahmana back and placed his lotus feet on his head. The Lord then told him that he shouldn't be proud of his austerity, and he should know for certain that devotional service to the Supreme Lord is supreme. So in this pastime we see that actually he got the mercy, he got liberated, even though he was disqualified, but because he had the seed of bhakti, of devotional service in his heart, because he was able to accept the chastisement and the punishment. But the point being made here is that it's not by austerity that we receive the mercy of the Lord. And at the end of the purport, this Srila Prabhupada quoted, Harim vina naivam ritam taranti. And I was thinking, where is that from? And it took me a while to find that, but it's actually a quote from Sridhar, Srila Sridhar Swami. And he says, let them suffer austerities, throw themselves from the mountains, travel to the holy places, study the scriptures, and worship with fire sacrifices, and argue various philosophies. But without Lord Hari, they will never cross beyond death. Very powerful statement. So you can do all of these things and think you're going to make advancement, and you might make some material advancement, but without Krishna, without the Supreme Lord's involvement, without the touch of God, you will not move beyond the realm of birth and death. So like that. So in conclusion, to be killed by the Lord and his devotees is auspicious. Be careful in the application of this. Please, no one leave here today thinking, Jai Nitai said, Prabhupada said, boom, boom, bang, bang, Hare Krishna. The value of not discharging semen, there are so many benefits of being self-controlled. Liberation can be attained only by devotional service. It's not simply by austerity, but by surrender. Hare Krishna. Anyone has any questions, comments, reflections, chastisements? Dear Mother, yes. And we have a mic for you also.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I have a question. How does process of celibacy work for women since we don't stop losing blood?
Very beautiful. Well, actually, yeah. So my understanding, and someone can correct me, that in women, semen is transformed into estrogen. Correct? Yes. Which is also a life-giving force for ladies. Estrogen is what keeps women, in one sense, chemically from becoming men. Because at the end of days, when ladies go through menopause and things like that, the estrogen flow is diminished, and then their bodies start to change and transform. But the same principle is still there, that one has to lead a controlled life. There are lots of things there, but there can also be discharge for ladies. Ladies can also engage in the same sort of activities that men can, and also in that same way, it's damaging to their vitality, their vital force. So the point is self-control. The main point is self-control. Although there's a chemical addition here, which may seem to apply only to men, but that also applies for ladies, because that the body, there was a place I was reading, what is it? Mucus, bile, air, bone, blood, and semen, I think, are the chemical makeup of bodies, the physical body in general, which means that it's also there in the female body. It's just, as I mentioned, converted to a different chemical. I may be corrected on that, but my understanding is that in men it's semen, in ladies it's estrogen, that the semen is transformed. I just said that it's converted to a different chemical known as estrogen. At the
wait, take the mic. Yeah.
So, just for one moment, the testes in men, at the time of the creation of the body, when the body is being formed, the testes in men, they're actually ovaries. They drop down and they become testes, but they remain ovaries for women. The same reproductive organ is there in men and women, just it takes a different position and creates a different chemical. But the principle remains the same. So the ovaries create eggs and the testes create semen. You can look it up later.
I just have a comment, not on the technicalities of it, but on the application of it for women.
Yes, beautiful.
So the application, because men have a certain function, women have a certain function, bodily function that they can perform. So the application would be chastity in a woman.
Beautiful.
That she would remain faithful to the one person that she's connected with, and therefore not be promiscuous, and et cetera, and have unwanted progeny, et cetera. So the application would be the chastity in womanhood, which is obviously slightly lacking in today's society. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And also this is this is a very very important point. It just reminded me that yes, this also can come across as if we are promoting only brahmacharya life, which we're not. 7 out of our 12 mahajans are grihastas, and they have children. Some of them, many children. I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur had 10 children, and somewhere I remember 12 children, and somewhere I seem to remember that he only passed semen 12 times, something like that. So theoretically, it's not that one doesn't engage, because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he is that sex life which is according to religious principles. So we're not promoting complete abstinence, we're actually promoting self-control. We're promoting chastity in ladies, but also chastity in men should also be committed to this one person. That's Dharam Patni. This term, Dharam Patni, means that the wife is the protector of the dharma of the husband, because he also doesn't go off and do these other things. So we're not necessarily promoting everyone should be brahmachari, but we are promoting that everyone should be self-controlled, like that.
Just Prabhupada made a comment that all the men should be brahmacharis.
Yes.
And then he also said, and all the women should be married. So what to do?
Well, the what to do came from, as far as I remember, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and Prabhupada said, that is for you managers to figure out. So basically, what does that mean? I think there's also another place where Prabhupada explained that most of the men will not be able to remain lifelong brahmacharis, so they will wind up getting married anyway. So not to discourage any lifelong brahmacharis here, any Naishtikas, but to give hope for us, those of us who aren't. Any other? Someone else raised their hand. Was that the comment you were going to make? Because I think you raised your hand initially. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So we're 1 minute over time. My apologies for that. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Jai Nitai Gauda Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.